Good morning, welcome to Morning Outlook. This is Kim speaking on Tuesday the 13th of January. So let's go on, look at these markets. Firstly, news. So run into the news first here, and just going to refresh this, get the data updated. There we go. So he says get it updated, and there's not a single thread of data there. It's because I've got the wrong week on. There we go, let's get the right week on. There we go. So Tuesday, right. No data yesterday. I did it wrong week. Wrong week I was looking at yesterday. Anyway, it was a Japanese bank holiday yesterday. Right, so today, 10 o'clock, we got the Bank of England governor speaking, due to speak at the, hosted by Bank of England. Whether that will create much, we'll see. Okay, it's not a specific meeting there. Aside of that, then we've got US inflation throughout the afternoon. Let's just read what these must be scores. Okay, so we've got December's. Right, we're up to date now. So there's data, obviously, I say obviously, but there was data missing. If you go back to the chart here, and you'll notice he says 25. There we go. October, November, December's missing completely. They've not bothered crunching the numbers, so we've just literally got we'll have the current numbers there. Okay, that's the key thing out today then. Right, moving on, let's have a look at the market. Starting off with the euro then. Euro yesterday caught a bit of a bounce. It was all over quite early in the morning. It did go back up and have another attempt later. It got very close to its 4-hourly 50 there. It was looking soft. I was looking at this very early on, and it looked like it was well, going to just carry on rolling over. It might still do so. Just looking at the time frame here, the overall market, it's not that convincing one way or the other at the moment, so it's just a case of wait, see which way this starts going. A breakdown here could see us running down towards the daily S1, the previous lows there. So really that's what I'm looking at the moment. The pound, similar up day there, came to the underside of its trend line there. It's looking a little bit more positive than the euro. The only concern I have there, is the euro really going to dive over, or are these both going to continue to the upside? They often work pretty closely together. We'll wait, see, but at the moment this is just consolidated as opposed to rolling back very much. So not so convinced on this at the moment. A break below the daily pivot would be much more bearish for me and probably give me the green light, but where it sits at the moment I don't really like it either way. And that's pretty much the story of this morning. The dollar yen has continued to shove up there. The yen's continuing to weaken against the dollar in most currencies. It's just not doing what I might have expected it to do. But we're seeing the higher lows running through on the 4-hourlies, higher highs continuing. Same picture here. Already moved a great deal today, or it's moved more today this morning than it did the whole of yesterday, so we could be done there. Australian dollar, it's got itself in a bit of a mess here. It had been looking pretty reasonable on the upside there, but yesterday, end of last week actually, last Wednesday, it started breaking down there, looking soft. Again with this, it's a case of waiting to see if it continues this breakdown. A break of these lows would be really a bit of a head and shouldery pattern by that stage. But at this point, um, well, we could. It's a bit like the pound. It was looking a little bit more positive. This could at some stage turn around this morning and head up towards its R1, maybe continue in the upward trend that it started. It's not massively convincing yet though. US dollar CAD is a flat mess, so I'll just leave it there. There we go. Maybe trying to roll back. Let's wait see on that. But other markets here, really not a great deal of clean action, and whilst it's like this, I've got no intention to try and trade it. Euro Aussie, lower highs, lower lows coming through, still looking on that softer side on the 4 hourly. We'll see what it does this morning. It's come to the underside of its pivot. It's already hit the S1 here. It might not quite catch the pivot. It might roll back and continue to that downside. But at the moment, the overall, there's not a great deal of trend in it. If you look at it on the 4 hourly, it's sort of running back down. But it's the sort of trend that sometimes you see, which is a slow trend, which then we start getting a surge again and off it goes. So I'm a little wary as opposed to the sort of cleaner moves that we saw previously here. Okay, that's that really. So there isn't a great deal I'm interested in. Gold continued to shove up yesterday and push through new all-time highs there as the panic sets in and the concerns set into the markets. 4 hourly pattern here, just coming back to its S1. It's already had the shove up towards the close and open of the new session yesterday, that was, and then today, well, it's a bit flatter here. So sort of a Monday morning flyer. This could come off a little bit. It's just something I wouldn't want to short, but there's not a long setup there for now. Oil continues to pick up a little bit. As I said yesterday and last Friday, for a while now, it's near the sort of the bottoming pricing, which suggests we might get a little bit more of a bounce here. It's a very slow one, but it's occurring. But it did pick up a little bit yesterday afternoon there at 3 o'clock. It eventually came off this. This is the quarterly pivot. It's bounced off this and its daily pivot, I suppose, although it never really bounced off that, ran through that. It was a bit weak, but it did run up. It managed to get up to its R1 yesterday. So it's a cleaner price action, or we're starting to see a bit more cleaner price action on this lower time frame. It's still a bit of a pig's ear though. When you look up at the 4 hourlies and dailies, doesn't make it the most attractive trade. Right, S&Ps, so here we go then. New all-time highs yesterday. Same old, eh? There's no concerns of the shove back into. Who would have known it would have pushed up quite as strong as it did here yesterday afternoon. But as I said yesterday, as much as it was looking a bit bearish and we'd seen double tops and it started selling off a little bit there, it just isn't one to be on the short side of for very long. And it looks still like we could be pushing up at some stage today. Nothing set there for me at the moment. Would prefer to be looking at it later in the early afternoon, later in the day. The FTSE's continuing to flirt around those previous highs there. It's consolidating around the highs. I should imagine at some stage we could get a break of this level here and push upwards. A bit flat at the moment as it sat through yesterday evening into this morning, but a shove up there could see it running back into new all-time highs. And the DAX, well, the DAX has just continued to shove on upwards. just continue to push on and push on. A little bit flat at the moment. My preference always is to play it coming off of its pivot. If it's come back to pivot, that would be nice. It pushed off yesterday, continued and ran up through. That's pretty much expected, and it went through the R1 but into the R2 yesterday. The pivot's quite pinched here. The price action is slowing up, but really it's a case of just waiting for the longs. As I said, a preference would be for it to come back to the pivot and give us a bounce. So that's what I'd be looking for there. Okay, it might just go, of course, this morning and just continue to fire up here, but it's the range of the movement is still pretty thin, and I don't expect it to move massively, but each time it's pushing up there, it's making new all-time highs, and it is a bit steep. So at some stage perhaps we'll see a bit bigger correction, more like in the shape of this correction we saw back here in the sort of mid-December, and that's not to say it won't continue up in the bigger scheme eventually. Right, okay, anyway, it might just go there this morning. I shall leave you there. So not a lot on the currencies, I'm afraid, but you can't try and make anything out of what isn't really shaping up at the moment. The euro is probably the best opportunity, and looking at it now, just I can get the hourlies on there. If anything, there's a possibility, instead of a continuation, it might at some stage. It's worth giving this an hour or so to see what it does, but if it can push up here, just looking maybe a bit more positive than negative. Right, anyway, often all changes on the 8 o'clock hour, so we need that to guide us a little bit more on this bit. Right, leave you there. Take care, have a good day, bye for now.